Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here, and we've got a ton more spoilers. In fact, they're coming out at a truly ridiculous rate. I don't know why they stepped on the gas this hard. I did not love it when they used to do like a month straight of spoilers and do like 3 cards a day because that was just tedious, drawn out, and annoying. But I think they heard people's complaints about that where they're like, dude, this hype train derailed 2 weeks ago. Can we just see the rest of the dang cards? And they were like, fine, we'll give him to you faster. And then like a toddler give us like 50 per day. But anyway, I doubt I'm going to get through all 52. Yeah, you thought I was exaggerating. No, actually I was understating it. But we'll see. I'm going to go pretty fast. I might skip a couple if they are painfully boring commons. Or just draft stuff. So let's start with Raffine's Informant. It's the 2-cost 2/1 human wizard, white. And when Raffine's Informant enters battlefield, it connives. Now remember, ETB, not cast. So you could just teleportation circle this. Yeah, they really need to ban that card and other cards like it because they're ruining like 100 other cards. Anyway, if you're like me and you forgot, draw a card, then discard a card. If you discarded a non-land card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So you wouldn't keep the counters if you use teleportation circle on it, but it doesn't really matter because you'll get the effect over and over and over. That's a little much for a 2-cost common. So next up, Unleash the Inferno. It's a 4-cost black, red, and green instant. And Unleash the Inferno deals 7 damage to target creature or planeswalker when it deals excess damage this way. Destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that amount of excess damage. So, I mean, it sounds like a good spell, but so do all the 3-color spells. What more is there to say? It's good if you can get those colors lined up, but if you do, you're probably with what's in standard right now playing an entire turn behind your opponent mana-wise because everything's coming in tapped. So this is almost like a 4.5 or 5 mana card and then it stops being good, but if you do get the colors out, then it is good. And then you have the unfair advantage that is just playing with 3 colors with a sideboard best of 3 anyway in paper. So I don't like 3-color sets because they've historically, going back about 10 years, been the absolute worst thing for the game ever. They never work. Never, ever, ever. They never do a good thing to the meta. Thank God this isn't a real 3-color set. There's a bunch of 2 mixed in. Next up, Hypnotic Drifter. So it's a 1/2 for 1 blue. That's pretty nuts. Human Rogue, and if you pay 3, it connives repeatedly. You don't even tap it. That's pretty good. That's a little too good, actually. Next up, Revel Ruiner. It's a 4-cost black 3/1 Cephalid Rogue. I guess there are cephalids on this plane. Okay. It has Menace, which is always properly annoying for a 3/1. And when it enters the battlefield, it connives. This must be the conniving section of the spoilers. So this is good, but it's not that good for 4, but it's also a common. Next up, Echo Inspector. He's gonna fix your Amazon Echo. So he's a 4-cost blue 2/3 with flying bird rogue, and when it enters the battlefield, it connives. How terribly exciting. I started reading that and I realized I probably should have skipped it. Next up, Topiary Stomper. Oh good, I love green things that don't cost enough with the word Stomper in the name. That's great. I'm sure this will be fair. Oh, double green too. Great. Plant Dinosaur. So that just came right out of nowhere there in 1910 New York. So Vegan Godzilla here is a 4/4 vigilance. With vigilance, I should say. And when Topiary Stomper enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Topiary Stomper can't attack or block unless you control 7 or more lands. And it's only a 4/4 for 3, and they call that a rare, and they color locked it? Really? I mean, the free land is nice, and then it delays it and you can't use it, and by the time you can use it, it's not that unfair, so it's kind of like a treasure? Where like something like this probably should cost 4, but it costs 3, so you got it out 1 turn earlier. That's the treasure thing. But then you don't get to keep like that land, that pretend extra bonus mana. I mean, think about the math, it's kind of like that. So yeah, I thought this would be a nightmare. Apparently this is a perfectly fair card. It's actually kind of interesting. A lot of this set is very, very, very well designed, but it's the parts that aren't. And way to a higher extent, it's the state and power level of standard right now, and that's a shame. Because this already, the colors are all over the place, there's no synergy, there's no way in hell this set's going to sell very well. And now they decided with this one apparently to lower the power level. And then anything that's vaguely powerful, almost like universally so far, is clearly for Commander. I mean, some of them don't even hide it. I think one of them references like multiple players or something. Yeah, pretty sad. I would not invest in this in any way, shape, or form. Just buy singles if you need them. So next up we got Cemetery Tampering, another rare, oh boy. 3-cost black enchantment, Hideaway 5. So when this enchantment enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom in a random order. But then at the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards, so you can stop it whenever you want. Then if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exiled card, that one single card exiled with just this permanent, without paying its mana cost. So while it's sitting there in play, it doesn't really do much, but it will continuously feed your graveyard every upkeep if you want it to. Which, like, that alone for the I'm gonna mill it and then resurrect, that's nuts. I think in standard, okay, whatever. You can do it, but I think it costs like 4 or 5, so whatever. But in pretty much any format other than standard that this is going to be legal, and this is going to be nuts. Now, in Eternal stuff, I think we have better ways of filling the graveyard. But like, they shouldn't be printing stuff like this, plain and simple, after what happened with Hogak. I mean, that's what I'm going to say, and I'll leave it at that. Next up, security bypass. Apparently this entire thing is like some kind of weird heist story. I don't know, I haven't read it yet. So it's a 2 blue enchantment or enchant creature. As long as enchanted creature is attacking alone, it can't be blocked. We're already at my limit of how many things can't be blocked in this set, which is 1. And even that I thought was too much because you technically create 2 tokens that are unblockable. But anyway, enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, it connives. So this is Aqueous form mixed with Rogue's Gauntlets, or gloves or whatever. But as a common for 2. Okay, this is a popper card all day. This thing is like nuts on the power level. It's still got the weakness of most auras, where if the creature dies, they burned 1 card to get rid of it in all likelihood, and you lost 2 cards, so great. But if you strap this to a 10-10, there's no size limit. I mean, this is ridiculous. Did they think people in a multicolor set aren't going to play multiple colors, strap this to a giant green creature, and just swing and just win the game? Like, just think about this. You have something with another on-hit effect, or double strike, or just a big creature, or I don't know, an angel, or just whatever, something with some counters on it. Maybe a sword equipped that doubles its power. I don't know where you'd get that. And then during your main phase, you cast this for 2. And then you go to combat, declare attackers, swing, hit them, win. And there's nothing they can do. They basically have like 1/3 of a turn to react to this. Yeah, you have to line up the giant creature, and giant creatures tend to win, anyway. But like, you could bypass a 1/1 Death Toucher with this. And they probably think, well, it's in blue and the creatures aren't very big, so it's fine. No. Yeah, this is going to be terrible. Absolutely terrible. Next up, Tola's or something. Talus. I don't know. Clever Conductor. Well, congratulations, your new name is Taters. So it's a hybrid white-blue plus 1 blue plus hybrid blue-black, which looks pretty ridiculous. 3/1 legendary creature, human rogue, and when Taters enters the battlefield, it connives. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile them from your graveyard. When Taters dies, they didn't refer to the card by its full name in the actual text, by the way, you might have noticed. That's interesting. Put the cards exiled with it into their owner's hand. It's roundabout, it's weird. This is basically, besides all that, a vanilla 3/1. I don't know if this is that great. Next up, Darling of the Masses. It's a 4-cost 2, 4 green-white elf citizen creature. Other citizens you control get +1/+0 because we needed that. And whenever Darling of the Masses, who isn't a legendary by the way, attacks, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Great. This just reminded me. They haven't done that in a while, the whole type-based or color-based, across-the-board boosting. And they should have kept it that way. Lord's cards are awful, I'm just going to say it. So next up, Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer. So it's red, green, and white, plus X, legendary creature elf druid, and when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So it's like a 3 overcost automatic tutor, almost birthing pod. I don't know. Yeah, if you're paying 3 over for it and all you get out of it is a 3/1, it's pretty much just a tutor. I don't know, whatever. I don't like free casting, but like this isn't. I mean, it says with mana value X and you pay X, so it's literally not free casting, but I don't like direct tutor to the battlefield effects regardless, but whatever, I've seen worse. Next up, Cabaretti Courtyard. When Cabaretti Courtyard enters the battlefield, sacrifice it. When you do, search your library for a basic mountain, forest, or plains card, put it on the battlefield tap, then shuffle, and you gain 1 life. So there's obviously 5 of these. I already spoiled another one a long time ago, but I just wanted to throw it in to remind you that this is the thing. The Super Evolving Wilds 3-color locked commander Lifeland. Next up, Elegant Entourage. It's a 4-cost green 4/4 elf druid with Alliance, which that's the most broken mechanic in this entire set by far. Whenever another creature, pardon me, I read that wrong. Whenever another Scoot Swarm enters the battlefield under your control, target creature other than Elegant Entourage gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. I can't wait to announce that they're finally banning Scoot Swarm because of not just a card, not just a mechanic, but in an entire concept in this new set. Least of which is Alliance, let alone just creature ETB and go wide stuff. And for each creature effects. Okay, it's only +1/+1 and trample till end of turn, but also this is not legendary. So you could have, 10 of these out with cloning. They really need to calm down and treat more carefully stuff like copying and, effects that you wouldn't want to have two of, etc. So next up, Fleetfoot Dancer. It's just a straight up cabaret colored. Yeah, I'm switching that. I'm sick of saying it. 4/4 cost, trample, lifelink, haste, elf druid. Alrighty then. I guess they got all butthurt over people saying that they weren't sticking to the color pie because this is like the 30th card in the set where, okay, it's red, green, white, and it has trample, lifelink, and haste. Let's see if you can put those three together. Oh yeah, that's right. Those are the mechanics that those color identities are most associated with. They can do whatever they want at this point. This set's all over the damn place. Speaking of that, next up, Body Dropper. He's only a dual color identity. Alright, so black, red, Devil Warrior, 2/2. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, put a 1/1 counter on Body Dropper. If you pay basically his mana cost again. So 1 black, 1 red, sacrifice another creature, Body Dropper gains Menace until end of turn. All this sacrifice crap, I bet we're going to see some death triggers, and I bet they're going to be on par with, like, what was that, Midnight Rider or whatever? Or worse, anything from Pest deck. Oh, that's right. Strixhaven hasn't cycled out yet. Whatever. I mean, he's not that good. He's still a common. Next up, Attended Socialite. It's a 2-cost green 2/1 elf druid with Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Wizards forgets to put non-token on a card. Oh, wait, I misread that. Attended Socialite gets +1/+1, but only until end of turn. Meaning they threw Alliance on there to make it seem like they actually did something instead of just putting on 4 cards. Next up, Social Climber. Oh my gosh, dude, something about that hair that looks terrible. 3-cost 3/2 Human Druid Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. In addition to the 1 life you gain from the stupid Innkeeper. Watch them go and ban Prosperous Innkeeper instead of Scoot Swarm. And keep this Alliance crap going. That'll be real fair. So now you've got duplicated Prosperous Innkeepers. Yeah, this one's not a 1-drop and you don't get a treasure, but who cares? Here it is. Green, white, go wide creature, ETB, Scoot Swarm, life gain. I'm calling it right now, which is pretty transparent because it's a deck right now. This is just going to make it worse, and I mean way worse. Don't go anywhere near standard when this drops until the next ban announcement after it. So anyway, next up we got a 3-cost Cabaret Incandescent Aria card, sorcery. It deals 3 damage to each non-token creature. Great. An asymmetric board wipe for a go wide strategy. That's wonderful. Next up, Sizzling Soloist. Really? They're jumping the shark arguably harder than Space Japan with their space mechs, I tell ya. So it's a 4-cost red human citizen 3/2 with Alliance. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature and opponent controls can't block this turn. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, that creature attacks during its controller's next combat phase if able. And I believe by rule that second part at least should have, if not had to have been its own paragraph. You can write whatever you want after a keyword where it's only based on a trigger and works differently every time, I guess. But I don't know. The second if, the condition, I don't know. I think if there's a paragraph, you can react in the middle of it. I don't know. Whatever. I forgot what this card does, and I don't care. I hate this. Next up, Unlicensed Hearse. It's a 2-cost colorless artifact vehicle, and you tap it, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard, and Unlicensed Hearse's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards exiled with it. And then crew 2. So if you get rid of 2 target cards from a single graveyard, yours or theirs, you can make this into basically a vanilla colorless 2/2. For 2, while sacrificing an attacker that's at least 2 in power. Why would anyone play? There are cards you just tap once and pay nothing for to remove a card from a graveyard. Oh, I just got it. It's cumulative. I thought they meant like this turn, but I mean, they didn't write that. So it would be 2, then 4, then 6, then 8. I guess they didn't learn from the last card that did something like that got banned. And the one before that. Next up, Venom Connoisseur. I love Venom, it's tasty. So it's a 2-cost green, 2/2 creature, human druid with Alliance, of course, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Venom Connoisseur gains Death Touch until end of turn. Nice. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, all creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. That's pretty spicy. This is a good card, except, oh wait, Finn is still legal. You know, the guy with double infect, every time he hits or anything else with Death Touch, they gain 2 infect counters, even if their power is 1? Yeah, that asshole. They still haven't banned his stupid ass yet. Unbelievable. See, nothing would be wrong with this card if it wasn't for broken, overpowered shit in the past. If you're seeing a theme, good for you. Next up, Pegasus des Hots Parks. France, what are you guys doing over there? So that translates to, all y'all have seen the Pegasus say, yeah, it is a 1 green, 1 white creature Pegasus. It has flying and trample. Hello. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn. Oh good, a flood and draw more card in the air with trample. That's what we needed. These go wide decks are gonna fail with the sheer number of like, I'll say 30% board wipe decks. Like that, it's 30% of their cards and the rest is just planeswalkers, counterspells, point removal, draw and scry, and manlands. Yeah, it's gonna be dead on arrival, but even if they do something about that to sell these cards, well, then they haven't really fixed standard because this go wide crap is already a little too powerful, a little too hard to stop. So next up, a 4-cost Elf Druid, white 3/2 Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, put a 1/1 counter on Celebrity Fencer. Okay, so it's kind of like Luminarch Aspirant except complete shit, and it's kind of like Johnny's Pride Mate except complete shit. It's a shame they set the bar so damn high. Next up, Tainted Indulgence. It's a 2-cost, 1 blue, 1 black instant. Draw 2 cards and discard a card unless there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard. Oh good, that again. Mega Threshold. Arguably closer to Mega Delirium or just Mega Tarmogoyf mechanic form. This is so late game, it would literally only go in a control deck. Probably just a draft card. So next up, Obscura Initiate. It's only 2 generic plus 1 blue. And it's a bird citizen 2/2 with flying, but you pay 1 generic and then a hybrid white or black, of course changing its color identity. Obscura Initiate gains lifelink until end of turn. Fun fact, if you add this to your mono blue deck on Arena, it will change the color identity on the outside to, 3 color, which is kind of annoying if you know darn well that it's, really blue. Like, yeah, it's really legally a 3 color deck, but like, really? So I mean, yeah, lifelink, but you gotta pay for it. I like it. This is like actually a pretty good card. Next up, Fatal Grudge. It's 1 black plus 1 red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a non-land permanent. But we're not going to like give it one of the many mechanics in the set that do that. Of course not. That'd be insane. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control that shares a type with the sacrifice permanent and sacrifices it. Yes, each opponent. And this is in a standard constructed set. Boy, this Commander Legends 3 here has turned out pretty good. They're not even hiding anymore. This is pathetic. Oh, and then you draw a card. So, yeah, overall, this is pretty darn good. Next up, Big Chungus Angel. Oh, I read that wrong. Angelic Observer. It's a 6-cost white uncommon 3/3 Angel Advisor creature subtype. Hello. Or creature with those 2 subtypes, I should say. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each citizen you control. Flying. So, I mean, yeah, if this was like a flying 3/3 for 3, okay, cool. So if you have an average of 3 citizens out, cool. If I was running a citizens deck, would I throw 1 or 2 in? Maybe. I don't know. It's only 3 damage in the air. I feel like you could do a lot more with that, but maybe this is a drafter constructed card? I don't know. Next up, this mythic. I gotta pull up a translation. Oh, it's Smuggler's Stash, maybe. It is a 6-cost green artifact, and lands you control have tap, create a treasure token. Are you f***ing kidding me? This still isn't as bad as that untap all your lands during your end step bullshit, but it is really, really close. You know what? If you were to just say which one's more damaging over 3 turns, I'd actually say this one, but only if you have like X spells, because then you could spend like, 24 mana or something all in 1 turn. Now remember, they have a grant +1/+1 X, single green plus X booster, if I recall, and I think it gives the creature trample. Might be conditional. So you mix that with Olokai of 20 treasures, well, you're just going to win. But you can't use your lands for anything else, but it's like, well, okay, you could bring this out, but for 6. So like, in other words, no, you can't. But if you could somehow cheat it into play, I think we're still probably talking outside of standard, which this is just going to be a wrecking ball. They're going to have to ban this from everything. And it's probably going to take them like a Luris amount of time. Yeah, Luris. What was that, 2.5 years or 2 years? Just over 2 years? Where they're finally like, oh yeah, this is completely we should do something about it. Sorry about the years and years within S of ruining multiple formats after we printed a bullshit set full of untested crap. You know, it seems like the amount of time they take to react to things is actually getting slower, because the Eldrazi Winter, at least that was only, what, half a year, 6 months of people not being able to attend, like, any Modern tournaments because they just wrecked the format. And the last tournament that I heard of before they banned it, I think it was 68% of people were running one of the, like, 2 Eldrazi decks. And then Lurrus, like I said, 2 years-ish. Scoot Swarm, still not banned. That's been legal for well over a year. And it's not even like the time, it's like, well, Waking of the Trolls. Okay, I don't care if 1% on the planet still plays that deck. That is 1 person too many. It's Land Destruction, Saga, Loop, oh, look, a bunch of 4/4s, I win. It is unreal. But a lot of people still want Terragrid banned. Westgate Regent, the flying 4/4 that doubles his attack power or whatever every time he attacks. Kind of, his counters or whatever. Prosperous Innkeeper, like I said, it's not even the card, it's the deck. Elvish Warmaster. I mean, if they banned everything I'm about to mention and still had Elvish Warmaster, Elfball would just win, okay? Kaldheim is still a thing. My Elves deck to this day is almost unbeatable, but there's so much control I can't play it anymore. But if I go up against anything but control, I win. The end. Teleportation Circle, that's honestly worse than Panharmonicon. I mean, is anybody still sick of Zareth San? I just played against him the other day. Oh, you let a 1/1 through, I'm going to steal the biggest thing out of your graveyard and free cast it. Ha ha ha. I mean, people still want Vorinclex banned. I don't agree with that myself, but I mean, the whole, you could just drop in a Planeswalker and ult it. Okay, but there's like no good Planeswalkers left except for like 1. And yeah, I'd prefer they just ban Red in 6 or 7 or whatever the hell number he's on instead of Vorinclex. But Skeletal Swarming, oh my god, don't even get me started. Delina, she's still legal, just forget about her ass. Avalanche Collar, Hexproof Manlands, unlimited amounts of them, that's fun. Hobgoblin Bandit Lord, that's the #1 card that's wrong with Red Rush. I want that gone. Angel of Destiny, get rid of that trash. Righteous Valkyrie, that infinitely more needs to go. White Life Gain Flyers, Clerics, Mixed Color, all that. It's unbeatable. Xanathar, don't even get me started about Xanathar, that asshole, and the shit deck that's in. I'd say Sleep, but they already banned it by banning, 98 cards out of Standard by getting rid of the A-Series crap. Hall of Storm Giants, most games that I play now come down to that. I proved it on livestream. I lost to that card personally 4 games. And the whole rest of the deck was Counterspell, Bounce, Board Wipe. The whole damn deck. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the trash pile that we have to sift through before we can have this set land and do anything any good. Plus, the power level of the stuff that we have to compete with. I mean, Toski? That shouldn't be a thing, but it still is. Brutal Cathar, I'm sick of that card. Hallowed Haunting, Lier, Mr. Krabs, aka Bounce Lobster, Faithbound Judge, like, I don't want any of this shit. This alternate win con, oh, there's nothing you can do, I hope you got Enchantment Destruction or you lose in 3 turns, shit. And if you heard a couple and you're like, yeah, they should ban that. Well, if they banned half of what I just said, the other half's just going to take over. So they have to ban all of it. And let me just remind you of some things they didn't ban in the past or currently. Dream Trawler, Auspicious Starix, Winota, Embercleave, Rune Crab, still legal. Torbrand, Zenith Flare. Lotus Cobra, Doom Foretold, Vito, Zareth, I guess I put him on both lists. Peer into the Abyss with that stupid mill your whole deck and win thing. Brash Taunter, Ugin, Relic Robber, Fae of Wishes, Outlaw's Merriment, Yorion, Victor's Envoy, Drowned in the Lock. They didn't do anything about any of those. None of them. Not a damn thing. So it's like, yeah, this is a hyper powerful card. Okay, cool. And you can get out some even worse broken crap with it. But there's not much above like 5 cost that's any good. So it's like by the time you have 6 to bring this out. But see, that's the problem. Okay, most people play Treasures go red, blue. But if you were to go like red, green, or red, blue, green, and then have this, you could treasure this out and then create more treasures. If anything, in like a Dragon Haste deck, that would actually just slow it down. But you could actually add some mid-range to that pile of shit. That stupid blitzy, all-in, oh, I hope you don't empty my hand. Oh, no, the dragon's died, I'm forfeiting deck. You know, that stupid glass cannon-ish pile of shit. So Standard is in just such a shit state right now, and then we get this on top of it. My gosh. And they are not acting on anything in my list from the past, anything in my list from right now. The last 2 things they banned in Standard, if I'm not mistaken, were All Runes Epiphany because duh, and Divide by 0. And now that the turns deck is out of the way, they let you take turns. Your turns just don't mean shit and don't matter at all in any way, shape, or form. because they're just going to bounce back to hand, counterspell it, blow it up, or board wipe, and then beat you with manlands. So that's almost worse. And then Faceless Haven and Omnath. Wow. Oh boy. Yeah, add about 30 to that list, Wizards. If you want anybody to even vaguely consider buying this set, first of all, pre-ban that one that's a 3-cost that drops a counter on everything every upkeep. And then secondly, ban pretty much everything I just said. Or at least bare minimum 75% of it. And even then, I think the ones you don't ban would just take over. So they're just hoping to like print what they call answers. That is typically their admitted strategy. I'm not making this up. Their strategy is if a deck is too powerful, they print a quote answer, usually not in the colorless spot, usually only works in best of 3 so that you can sideboard it. Usually your opponent just sideboards around it or you just don't draw it, because also usually it's a 4 of out of 60, so you stand roughly between a 48 and 65% chance in the average game of Standard of pulling the card in the first place, and you have to win 2 more games to dig your way out of it. So even if it was something like Blood Moon where you just cast it and just shut them down and they just lose, doesn't matter, you're not going to draw it enough. So printing an answer is fundamentally mathematically incorrect, but let's say they print like, I don't know, 5 answers, like 5 -1/-1 sweepers, and now anybody playing some kind of weird token deck thing loses. Okay, cool, but now I have to work those into my deck and my sideboard. I don't want to do that, and FYI, Wizards, I play best of 1. So printing answers is completely dead on arrival, but they did use it as a design strategy in the past, where usually one of the next 2 sets after a set comes out would be like the perfect killer, cure, what did I call that? Oh, an assassin deck, an assassin mechanic, to whatever came before it. So if they did big creatures, they would focus on a lot of individual cheap point removal. And they would do it in like red, they would do it in whatever. So then if like planeswalkers were a big thing, then usually the next set or the one after it, to undercut the one before it and force you to rebuild your deck and, adapt because you're not winning anymore, they would do like red direct damage to planeswalker spells. Then they do black, like 2 different cheap, kill spells that take down a planeswalker. Then they would have like a bunch of flying and trample creatures. So they would just absolutely assault the previous meta. And instead of just power ramp, power creep, which is very bad because where does it lead you? I mean, look at Yu-Gi-Oh! They would just kind of run around in a circle and invalidate what came before it, by beating it. And it was kind of dirty, stupid, and dishonest, but it worked because it wouldn't power creep the set. And now they're just power creeping everything. And it's kind of like leading a horse upstairs. They then refuse to go back down the stairs. That is a real thing. Cows do it too. And then you're stuck and you can't go back down. Well, once you ramp the power level up, how do you reset it? Lots and lots of bans that piss people off, or wait for rotation to happen twice, so 2 years. And the whole time you sell 8 sets that sell like shit and are underpowered crap. And then at that point, when you flush the last little bit out with the second rotation, then you can play the lower powered sets. So that's not an option. So what they need to do is not do it in the first place. So chasing their tail around and going in a circle and saying, well, now we're going to go wide with tokens, with a goblin set. Oh, well, but now we have, lots of sweepers, -2s. They actually did that. I'm actually quoting like a real thing. Then they had like devotion, and the next set they did like board wipe and removal and strong multicolor or whatever. So yeah, they just kind of, oh, this is invalid. Go here now, do this. There are pros and cons to it, but at least it worked. The only other way around it is just create such innovative, interesting things that people want to play it just because it's good. And you can lower the power level of the game so much that you can just print anything. And as long as you build something vaguely competent, you can compete with everything else, because instead of the power being cranked up to like 10, it's like everything's at like a 3, Just some vague deck power rating, like something that doesn't really exist. But, if you're at a 10 and I build a 7, but I can't win against your stupid broken 10, I'm not going to buy the new set where the best you can do with the mechanics and the cards are a 7. But if everything's 3 and I can build a 2.9, guess what? I'm going to build it if it looks like fun and I want to build it. And I'm going to build 10 different decks so that I don't get bored. Instead of just, oh, well, I'd build my own deck, but anything I build is going to be rated a 4 and you're running a 10. So I'm not going to build my own deck. I'm just going to neck deck and copy and then whine about mirror matches. Oh, Magic sucks, and then I just quit Magic. I just described basically what's been happening for the last 3 years. At least in paper. Digital's been even worse. So that's the little pickle they're in. So I'm going to leave it at that. There's a couple more spoilers here, obviously, but I'm going to polish that off tomorrow, hopefully. So thanks for watching in the meantime, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.